Alec, your team stinks.
1000%.
Your team is terrible. I'm sick of this, man. It's been all season. Golly, what's going on?
Just when you think it can't get any worse.
We are here right after the Lakers have lost yet again, this time to one of the worst teams in the league, the Houston Rockets, in an overtime thriller.
Yeah.
And the Lakers have blown that. And we're going to talk about that loss and a whole bunch more going on in the NBA and beyond right now. As you can see, we're joined by our good friend and Boston analyst there, Matt, as well as Alec again. Alec and your boy G here for another episode of Section 300. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, like, rate, resubscribe, all that good stuff for us. Follow us on IG and TikTok at Section.300. Follow us on Twitter at Section 300 Sports, And yeah, just good stuff going on all across the board. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to our episode with Josiah Johnson last week. And also thank you for watching our episode 1 reaction to Winning Time a couple of days ago as well. So good stuff going on. We'll have more reaction to that show later on as that show continues to come out. But we're back for our regular pod. We talk about all the things going on. And yeah, of course, we got to start with, as I said, Alec and your Lakers, man. What is going on?
Man,
what is going on?
Blaming the Lakers anymore? You can't just put it on me.
You have the jersey on. You're wearing the jersey, so I'm putting it all on you right now.
I gotta rep my guy for sure. Russ, with breaking that 23,000 point threshold, I had to throw it on. And he had a really great night. So he probably was the best Laker on the floor tonight.
Oh, so we're officially team stats over wins now. That's what the season is.
I mean, Braun's been stats over wins the past month, so might as
his
well
whole career.
Everyone follows the leader.
Hashtag Jason Kareem. Hashtag a kid from Akron. So
gosh,
drop for greatness.
So yeah, tell me because you were watching it more in depth than we were. What do you think of this last loss to the Rockets that we just witnessed?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we know, as you touched on, they're the second worst team in the league, so it's a very winnable game. Mm-hmm. And it was a very winnable game throughout. The Lakers, as expected, kept it closer than it should have been throughout regulation. But they had a chance to close it out in the end. And Braun had a drive to the rim and looked like he could have went for the reverse layup, but he dished it out to Melo. And Melo
tweeting that, yeah.
Melo missed a makeable jumper. Like, it was a fine shot, but it seemed like an opportunity for LeBron to ice it himself at the rim.
LeBron's not clutch?
I didn't say that. But he does have a history of like passing the ball off in crucial moments like that, when a lot of times you want your number one option to just go for it, even if it's not the clearest opportunity to shoot. So it was another one of those moments for Skip Bayless to pick on tomorrow morning for sure.
Got you. So what do you think of the state of our team right now? Like, how should we be feeling about this squad and as this season is coming to a close?
Just scream at that face. That's it.
How should we be feeling about this squad? Like, one of our friends, Dart, he was telling me, like, I shouldn't have betted on these guys again tonight. Like,
sorry,
I would never
doing that.
I would never bet on this 2020 Lakers squad. They've shown us enough for us to, I guess, gather that you can't have any faith in them on a night-to-night basis to bring it for 4 quarters. Like, they'll give you that quarter burst, sometimes a quarter and a half or 2, but a full 48 minutes, you're not getting a fully focused competitive basketball team, especially on the defensive end. This is like one of the worst offenses. I think they're 27th in offense, and we just let them go track meet on us and play back and forth basketball with us. So,
and something we'll address more in depth in a little bit. But while on the Lakers, Matt, I called your team early on could have been records as in reference to Drewski's thing and called them that as a team that seemed like they should have been good, but I thought weren't going to pan out as many would have hoped. And I thought they'd be low in the standings, but have proven us wrong to the nth degree as they continue to go on the tear that they're going on to end this season. Meanwhile, the squad that I had high hopes for, our squad, the Lakers, is actually that could have been record squad. I guess the truth is revealed, and I was pointing the fingers everywhere else, and when it should have been pointing right at us. So our team had high hopes, and we thought we're going to be really good, but have not quite panned out. And it's been a rough season that continued again with this tough victory. This last game is the Rockets as well. So just it continues to be a struggle.
with that, like, you could just give the could have been award to like Kendrick Nunn, right? Because like that's the whole season. Like it was, we're waiting on Kendrick Nunn.
Yep.
So I mean, his points could have helped tonight if he scored 2 for you. It's no OT.
And I think Garrett not quite panned out is a bit of an understatement too, because they're 9 games under 500 now. I believe they still sit in the 9th seed, and I don't think they're in jeopardy of missing the play-in either.
If the Kings would,
not even worth discussing. Not even worth discussing the Kings, man.
I think this podcast would shut down if that happened.
But I think the Pelicans are right behind the Lakers in the 10 spot, and while they've been playing well with the addition of CJ McCollum, it seems like they're in a situation where they're not going to be able to surpass the Lakers because Brandon Ingram's going to be out 7 to 10 days as well too.
And even
if they did, that puts the Lakers in the 10 spot, and I don't see the Blazers or Spurs surpassing them. So they're going to have an opportunity still, as bad as they've been, to make a playoff seed and get a playoff win. But I have no faith in them, like I said, on a night-to-night basis to bring it.
And you say that, and as many Lakers fans have expressed, is just as a result of what we continue to see. But we're starting to see with at least one of our quote-unquote leaders in Russ, he's taking some heavy offense to the criticism that's been thrown his way. What do you think about his reaction to the name calling and things he's been getting throughout the season this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand the basketball criticism for sure. I mean, because he's definitely struggled. Like, there's no 2 ways around it. He's definitely struggled in this new role on this Lakers team, not being the number one ball handler, number one option, trying to slot in next to LeBron, who's a very ball dominant player. Like, there's just, you can't get around it. Like, it just is what he is. He may be a natural small forward by position, but he's a point guard, like, by trade. So, Russ seeking to fit in with this Lakers squad has been a clunky fit. And then him having the price tag of $40+ million and us not being able to build a good enough roster around him, LeBron and AD because of the price tag of their 3 contracts. Like, he gets a lot of the vitriol for sure, but that's where, like, the vitriol is where it gets, like, to be a little bit too extreme, because the personal attacks on his family and, like, the death threats, like, I understand why now he's speaking out about that type of criticism, because basketball criticism, okay, like, you take it. And he's admitted his struggles in post games before as well too. But he's not usually one to talk about, like, what fans say. But I think this case was different because his wife spoke out about the death threats that they were receiving. And so I understand him making it a point in the press conference. And it was a question he was asked. It wasn't like he just brought it up randomly. So, yeah.
Matt, you've seen it with your squad and how they kind of treated guys like Kyrie Irving in recent years. So seeing it, how your team handled it, and seeing how we're handling our guy right now, what do you think of the whole situation?
I mean, it's just unnecessary. Like, I mean, to what Alex said, like, it's criticizing the basketball product is one thing, right? But then, like, when you get into all the other stuff, like, Alec, when you were talking about the death threats and stuff, like, it popped into my head. Like, I remember, like, reading books about Hank Aaron growing up and being like, oh my God, he's receiving death threats because he's about to break Babe Ruth's record. Like, like, sure, there was all of that motivation behind it, and that's why I probably got, like, thousands of them. But, like, we're really still doing this just because, like, you think this guy's overpaid and he's on your favorite team? Like, and, like, you know, you brought up the Celtics. It's like the Nets and Celtics just played again, and obviously Kyrie was able to be there because it was a road game. And, like, I think it was the Celtics had, like, taken a lead, or, like, they kind of had the game iced, but, like, but Jaylen Brown was at the free throw line, and, like, instead of the entire stadium being quiet, what does every drunk ass person in Boston do? Is they start chanting "F Kyrie, F Kyrie," while their own guy is at the line. Like, granted, the game was probably over, but, like, if Jaylen misses both of those, which he didn't, but you know, like, say he does, and then you know they get that could easily get out of hand. Like, you know. It's not unprecedented. We've seen Tracy McGrady do these things. Like, you know, they got Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I don't want to mess around with that. So, you know, it's like, and I even, I bring all that up and it's like, oh, fans going against their own rooting interests. Like, but the hate theoretically comes from Westbrook not living up to fans' expectations. But then like fans also, on the other hand, might affect the game just because they want to like throw something at Kyrie, like we also saw, or chant, when it's really not a good idea for their rooting interests. Like it's unnecessary. And like, I mean, you guys put it well, like the vitriol, like I just don't know if there obviously isn't a place for that in the game, but like, I don't know how we really do anything about that. Like it almost like
another malice at the palace, man.
Yeah. Honestly, though, like that's kind of it.
It's a tough spot. So yeah, we're still searching for solutions and all of it. But hoping that things can turn around for Westbrook as he continues to go about things and have better games as we saw it tonight. So hoping for that and hoping he continues to do that. But to that point, it seemed like all of media was piling on in the same way as the fans were, but trying to take the angle of, well, they're just directing it towards the game, and you have to just what do you think of how the media was reacting to what Westbrook was saying?
Yeah, ESPN was doing some nasty posturing the next morning. I saw on like NBA Today. I thought like Malika Andrews tried to like throw him some bail with how she was moderating the discussion of his post game conference, but like Kendrick Perkins like saying like basically like that to keep your like wife like shielded from it, to just have her like not address the death threats and stuff. Like she's very much like a part of it. Like she's the one receiving them directly. Like it's easy to say like just ignore it like when you're not in it. And like they tried to say that like everyone experiences like this like on some level, but like when it's so targeted like this, one, that's not even true. Like you don't have the platform of Russ, but when you're like in the thick of it and it's so constant, and the media segments and bashing and jokes and stuff that are like on a continuous cycle every day that help drive the narratives that fans hang on to and then go with the Westbrook shit, like they're feeding into it, and then they were trying to posture and like act like they haven't been very much a part of the issue. So yeah, it was kind of nasty.
A lot of folks try to act like they're not in it. While it's that thing where it's, I guess, the two wrongs will make it right, or the idea, more so the idea of folks trying to look at others and say what they're doing when really they're doing the same thing. It was like they're trying to justify the fans and say what the fans are doing, but really they're adding on to that same fire. So yeah, it was really, really nasty how they were treating him. And I just hope that Russ continues to improve his play. And then again, circling back to that, he definitely had, like as you said tonight, has looked a little bit better. There are folks prior to this game for the whole season up to it, saying that he's past his prime now and his athleticism is fading and all that kind of stuff. And my question to you is, do you think his athleticism is fading, or is just that this situation is not set up as it's supposed to be for him to play the game that he usually does?
Yeah, if you watch the game tonight, you would say no. Like he had a couple really athletic plays. So you'll probably see like a highlight of like this reverse layup he had through the lane.
Right.
But I will say that he may have like lost a small step because his finishing at the rim hasn't been as good as it's been in years past. But athletically, like he seems to still have like most of his athleticism. He's not like quite as bouncy as he was in his prime. When a lot of like those layup attempts would have probably been dunk attempts. But I don't think his athleticism has like failed him to the point where like he's washed now and like is a complete shell of himself. Like I think if he's on this Wizards team again this year, they're probably in better like playoff contention right now. Like he's probably having a similar type season as he did last year. And I do think it is like it is with all players to some extent. It is situational. Some of his struggles. So,
yeah, I agree. Matt, you have any comment on how Russell is playing right now? In that sense, you think it's a confidence thing, or is his athleticism actually fading out?
A little bit of a confidence thing too.
Yeah, I think that's some of it too. Like I mean, just thinking about like I don't know. To me, and like obviously, this isn't necessarily how professional athletes are wired, but like if my wife is getting death threats and my kids are getting death threats, am I really going to go 110% for this city when, we're hopefully striving for a playing game? Like,
right. This is my hometown city and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like obviously that's not evident. Like, he was not the problem tonight. He had a good game, but like, especially as a professional athlete, like maybe he's looking at things like, okay, maybe I have like 2 to 3 good seasons left in the tank. Like, do I want to go 110% every night for a team that clearly doesn't want me in a lot of ways? Like, I don't know. Like, so I wouldn't fault him if he's not going 110% every night. Because like it makes sense. Like, his wife and kids are getting death threats. That's despicable. Like, that's gonna have an effect on anyone, whether you say it does or not. Like, that's very real stuff. So I think it's probably a bit of everything.
I'm with you there. And it's funny, just I guess because of how the season went, people are gonna nitpick all the moves he makes. But there are a few guys on the squad that have similar body language at times as he does, but don't get that same criticism. So again, the last thing, Matt, I'm gonna get to more stuff across the rest of the league, but to the Lakers again, just with that body language, like we see times with Bron. I saw a clip tonight, and sometimes folks nitpick. I mentioned to you, Alex. Sometimes people nitpick, but there were also real times as well when like a guy like LeBron comes down the court and just stands at the half court line and lets a whole 30 seconds pass before he makes any kind of move towards the basket or gets the ball in play in any kind of way. But because he also has some positives he does on the other end or wherever the case, moments like that get overlooked. But yeah, just to you guys' point about the season maybe not going as it was not going as it was supposed to go, and language resulting from it. I think guys like LeBron are showing that as well, and that when things aren't going well, I'm not going to sit here and put all my energy into this. I'm going to ease up on the breaks. I can't risk my body. We saw Bron put up 56 against the Warriors a couple of days ago, and then had to sit for a game. And then now showing against this Rockets squad, he's like, okay, we're back to as it was. I'm not going to keep exerting myself like this and having to risk injury or whatever. So he's going to take his time. So yeah, it's just a result of the season, and I believe when back in contention that we'll see a better play from Russ, Bron, and other guys that will still be here going forward. So yeah, just looking forward to them righting these wrongs. And lastly, how you think these last 20 games or so go for our squad there, Alec?
Yeah, I think there's less. I think it's like 16 or 17.
Right,
left.
somewhere around there.
Realistically, probably about 500 basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I still think that's good enough for at least the 10 seed. Which it's nasty that we're talking about being good enough for the 10 seed. Like
Josiah said last week that he thought we were still going to, even in that spot, could win a couple playing games to get into the playoffs officially. You agree with that as well?
I think they're capable. I just don't know if they're going to bring it on a night-to-night basis. Like I can't like definitively say like they'll do anything at this point. Like we've seen enough 60+ games of them being like sometimes with their effort and their focus. A lot of it's going to depend on the health of Anthony Davis. I believe we're going to get him back before the end of the season.
Right.
So that's obviously a boost. Like that obviously helps their chances tremendously. But then it's not a guarantee he stays healthy like that long either. So I think to end the season, it's probably going to be about 500 basketball. I don't expect much better from them at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you there. As you pointed out, I think we should get the 10 seed because the teams below them have their own issues that they can't get past, Kings and others. So it's going to be what it's going to be, and we'll go from there and hope for the best. If who else is down in that 7, 8, 9 spot?
The Clippers.
Yeah, if we gotta play. If we have to play the Timberwolves right there and win them playoff games, I know
I'd rather play them than the Clippers.
I know we rather play the Clippers, but the Timberwolves have been pretty good as well. And then the Clippers have had our number all season as well. So it's going to be a tough playing tournament for us. And again, it's just funny to that point that what was that 2 years ago? LeBron was trying to say that he didn't want the playing game, and now it may stay this season. So yeah, thank God, thank God it's here.
Should be fired or whatever.
Right, people were calling for heads and all of that, and now look, I'm sure they happy as can be that we still have that opportunity. So yeah, very glad for the play-in tournament that's now around, and glad that our team still has a chance, and hoping that they take advantage of it and make something of that at the end of the season. So good stuff there. And then Matt, again, we brought you on for this exact reason.
Yes.
Go ahead and have your victory lap, man. Go ahead and tell us about how good your Celtics are doing on the opposite side. We shouldn't be supporting rivals, but we definitely see the greatness that this team was putting forward, and the turnaround that they made, especially after my name calling and things I had for them early on in the season. So talk about how this team has figured things out and are continuing to rise in the East right now.
I mean, addition by subtraction, like you get an unnamed soon to be Fox News host out of there, and like, it's like Enos Freedom leaves, he stops making everyone uncomfortable in the locker room, and
Schroeder, don't forget Schroeder.
True, yeah, we got Enos Freedom out of there, and then we got the two unvaxxed people in Schroeder and Josh Richardson out of there. So got all three out of them out of there. Got Derek White in, who I love. I mean, he's a perfect fit for this team. Even just to like stabilize things with injuries, like Jaylen Brown was out with an ankle a couple games. He was perfect for that. So I mean, I'm really happy. Who would have thought? Team playing well, I'm really happy.
I did not think at all.
Nah, but like I mean, it's everything that has been said about this team. Like the defense is elite. Like that's the part that has really stood out for me. What makes me the happiest is I feel like, especially like when, G, you were calling them could have been records. I was like, there were a couple injuries. We were kind of hit hard by COVID, but like, so is the whole league. You can't really use that excuse. And like what I wanted was, when it helped that we got Schroeder out of there, I wanted Marcus Smart as the full-time point guard. Like it's not really a role he's played yet in his career, but like I'm pretty sure he had like 12 or 13 assists the other night. Like he's really doing well, because like obviously he's going to be able to lock up the best guard, on the other team. I got faith in that. I bring on that Harden and Philly matchup. I love Smart on him. But don't necessarily know if we win, but it'll be fun. I love watching him play defense on Harden, but like the team's defense has just been electric. And then like basically I remember it was this whole big thing where like Smart directly called out both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for not passing enough.
That was early in the season.
And like since then, I feel like it's one of those Stat Muse type accounts will tweet it out every so often. Like they're this and but they have a win percentage of like 600 or 700 since then. And like it's been noticeable. Like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are both distributing the ball. Like even just as a team, they're almost making the extra pass like too much. Like there's sometimes I watch the offense and it's like, I want a guy to shoot it because he's got an open three, but he just knows someone's more open in the corner. Or like, Grant Williams is shooting 50% from there this year. Like, let's get it to him. So, and like I mentioned Grant, like that was a huge leap. Like he basically turned into the Celtics version of PJ Tucker, like out of nowhere. Like his 3-point shot is legit this year now, which I did not see coming. So, we got him. It's like, it's that, modern NBA defense where everyone switches, but like, I don't know. It's been really impressive. And like I was telling G before we started recording the show, I was kind of they played the Hornets tonight. I was kind of half watching that game. And, like I had it on, I want to say it was like late third quarter. They're up by like 6 or 7. I go to continue doing work, turn back to look at the score, and they're up 20 with like maybe 4 game minutes passed. And I was like, what, when did this happen? Like this team would not have done that 4 months
I think
ago.
Tatum had like 44 tonight. So
he's averaging 40 something in the month of March right now. He's definitely cooking.
He's on one right now. And like and that's kind of typically been his kind of career arc. Like I know Russ, we talked a lot about him. He's been a guy who typically in his career has a slow start and then finishes strong down the stretch. And I think Tatum is becoming that way because he really started slow this year. He's had a couple slow starts to his years, and but once it comes time for like, to quote the show, once it comes time to winning time, like he steps up, he gets the team there. Like we're kind of middling in that play-in range. We're now like I think pretty solidly out of it.
You're fifth right now.
Yeah, and I think like a couple games within the 3 too, so like they could still make some moves.
Definitely.
I mean, Tatum's just carrying them. He had a 50 ball the other night. Jaylen Brown, I mean, he's been banged up, but he's still playing like himself. Marcus Smart's locking up. I mean, I can't ask for anything more.
Yeah, I'm thirsty for a team to root for like that, man. Like A team that like is committed to the defensive end is my dream. That was the 2020 Lakers. That's why they were successful. So
no, it's beautiful to watch. Like just the movement on defense. And then I didn't mention him. Rob Williams was having like a defensive player of the year type
Time
year.
Lord.
Like legit, the Time Lord. Love him. But it's just been incredible to watch. I mean, I hope the one thing I want to say about Rob is I won't be mad if he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, but if Gobert wins it over him, then I'll be mad. Because that's like he's not Ben Wallace. Don't give him that many DPOYs, especially when we got this new fun guy.
I hate to say it again, but with Draymond being out for as long as he's been, Rudy might steal it yet again.
I know.
No.
I think
who's there?
I think I agree with you. It'd be Rob.
I'd have to think about it for a second, but
it's Rudy for sure in the conversation, and then whoever else you need to find.
It's the usual suspects. It's Giannis and like Bam Adebayo as well too. So
if that's the case, and that's for sure, let's make sure that they get it and don't let Rudy get it yet again, because that's ridiculous. But I definitely hear you that Rob definitely has shown that he's going to be a guy that should be in that conversation. So they'll be glad to see that. This isn't either of our squads, but a guy that I thought would be in that kind of discussion was a guy like Mitchell Robinson. Like I had high hopes for him early on. His name just came to mind for some reason, but he never hasn't quite got to that level yet.
Listening to too much Pod Don't Lie.
I guess so. Whatever. But that name just popped in my head for whatever reason. But seeing that Rob has elevated his game and has got there instead has been great to see. Though you're on the opposite side there, so definitely salute to you guys for that.
I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
One question to Matt with you gushing about the success of the Celtics. Does this mean that Wonder Boy Brad Stevens is the truth now?
Are we back on that? Brad Stevens,
is he a genius?
Year one, I think I tweeted it. I think I tweeted a poll like making fun of, because when he first started as a coach, people were like, "Would you rather have Giannis Antetokounmpo or Brad Stevens to start your team?" So like, he's had a good first year as a GM. Let's get that discussion going again. Right. But I mean, I'm not going to call him the Wonder Boy anymore. I think that was a little ridiculous. Some Boston media mafia put that in the world. But, I mean, he's had a great first year as a GM. Like, especially that deadline. Like, that was, what I kicked the discussion off with. As much of a kind of joke as it is. Like, I mean, I imagine Cantor, wasn't, or Enos Freedom wasn't. Apologies. Change his name. But, I imagine Enos wasn't, the best locker room, person, especially with like all the circus going on with him and going to speak at CPAC and all that. Like, we don't need that in the locker room. And now we don't have it. So, but even then, just like going to get a piece like Derek White, because Derek White, I think he's like locked up. He's got a deal for at least like 3 or 4 more years. Like he's gonna be a legit piece, and he fits so well next to Smart. Like.
Yeah,
he's doing a great
like
job.
A 6-man too, right?
Right.
Yeah, he usually comes off the bench. Like even when Brown was hurt, they started Nesmith.
Off the bench.
Yeah, he's kind of that like stable, vet off the bench.
I like that.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of smart moves. Ime Udoka's doing a great job as well too.
He's great too. He was. I mean, we just talk about media and all that. Like especially that slow start with the Celtics.
Yeah, they were getting killed. He was getting killed.
He was getting so much shit.
People have no patience.
None. And like, look at it now. It's like, this defensive-minded coach. We were wondering why it wasn't clicking. Look at the defense now.
Like, are the Celtics contenders now? Like,
Matt, what do you think?
I mean, I'd say yes. Like, it's I don't know if I'd put it. They're like fringe contenders because like I don't think I would put them on the same level as Philly or like. I mean, I know we haven't seen him we haven't seen Simmons play for Brooklyn yet, but like once they have him, because like when the Celtics just beat Brooklyn, like that was when Tatum scored his 50. So I was thinking like, okay, say we play them in the playoffs, like they're just gonna lock Ben Simmons to Jason Tatum, and then like that changes.
Pulls it down a little bit.
Yeah, he's not scoring 50 then. So I still would give Brooklyn the edge, especially if Kyrie can play all 7 games of the series. But I mean, after that in the East and Milwaukee, of course, I would probably put them right up there. But I think the Celtics have a decent shot at beating any of those teams.
Okay, what about Miami?
I mean, they are the 1 seed. I always forget about them.
I always forget.
And while on the topic, can you clarify this for me, Matt? What is a contender to begin with?
Oh man, that's a good question. Honestly, I feel like sports media as a whole should like have a conference about that.
But as soon as any team looks decent, they're like, oh, they're a contender now. I want to just know because me and Alec had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and he's mentioned the Suns and how they're contenders, but he has not seen them winning the championship at all. So to me, that says they're not a contender if you don't see them as a winner.
Well, I can tell you, real quick, I can tell you, like, just to clarify for you, G, like for me, a contender is someone like that can be like in the finals, like that has a chance to make the finals.
Yeah,
like I think there's several teams that are contenders to make the finals. I think there's only a couple like I could really see winning it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what the difference is. Yours is you're saying based on getting to the finals. I'm saying who can you see winning the trophy? Yeah. So even if they get there, I'm like, okay, yes, you guys may have got there because of whatever may have happened, but if I can't see you winning the trophy at the end, I'll even getting that far. I think you may be a fraud in that sense. So that's where I guess that's where
fraud's tough for a team.
It's hard to call somebody a fraud into the finals. So to that point, I will adjust to how you're saying, and with you clarifying that, I'll roll with that. And now with that being the confirmed definition, Matt, do you see the Celtics as a contender there?
And I think I'll still say yes, just for the hell of it.
I'm
gonna say yes. But like when I was thinking about it, like how I would answer that is probably like I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the finals. Mm-hmm. But like if I'm looking at the Celtics, like as we're talking about, the Heat, the Sixers, the Nets, Milwaukee, obviously, defending champs, can't forget about them. But, as we talk about those teams, like if the Celtics make the finals, they're going to have to beat two of those teams in a 7-game series.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When I think about that, I'd be a little surprised if they did that. I think they have a chance to. Like, I'm not, I'm not being a pessimist or anything, but like, I'd be pleasantly surprised if they made the finals through that. So, that's more of where I say like fringe contenders.
Gotcha. What do you think?
Now the Celtics.
Yeah.
I have to say, I mean, I to be definitive, Matt, you say fringe. I'll just say no. In that, I see a few more teams above them still actually getting to the finals and possibly winning there. Yeah, the Heat, Bucks, Nets, and who else was I always blanking on? And I don't think that with the Bulls and their injuries, I don't think so. Actually,
you don't think the fully healthy Bulls are going to be a problem?
If they get fully healthy, then possibly.
I think they're getting Caruso and Lonzo back.
If they are, then great. But if their injury woes continue,
and maybe Patrick Williams too.
I don't believe they can get all the way there past these other squads that are still going to be still fighting for it as well. So the Sixers also I think can get there. So with those 4 squads ahead of them there, I'll say no, but it's not no as if it's not completely possible. Again, I guess it's more so fringe as Matt said as well there. So we shall see. And again, we mentioned Tatum and others. There are folks now, and you mentioned all the awards. There are folks now throwing Jason in the MVP discussion. What do you guys think about the race that's going on with the MVP right now? Is Jason in it? And if not, who you guys have as your top 3 right now?
I'll say first to just responding to the last discussion. I think, like Matt said, fringe contenders for the Celtics. I think anytime your defense is that elite,
I thought you said that already. My fault. Go ahead.
No. But anytime your defense is that elite, like you're a problem. And we've seen them be able to beat some of the better teams, like in both conferences now too. Like earlier on when the Celtics were kind of streaking, they were beating kind of below 500 teams or teams without their stars, but they're now beating some of the more loaded teams now too. So I think they're going to be a problem. Like you said, no. I think probably lean towards no, just because the East is so stacked.
Right.
But fringe contender, just because that defense is top of the league. As far as Tatum, I think they have to get into like a top 3 seed in the East for him to be a real MVP consideration. For sure, top 10 in voting right now, I would say. But not like cracking the top 5. I think Embiid, Jokic, DeRozan, Ja Morant. I feel like I'm missing one major one. Maybe one of the Suns players.
Giannis,
Giannis is the 5th one I was thinking of. I was missing. So he definitely doesn't crack that 5. Like maybe he's in like the 7-8 range right now.
Gotcha.
With how the Celtics have been streaking, but if they can get into a top 3 seed, he might have a real claim for it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Matt, what you think?
My MVP, I mean, I'd still probably say Jokic. I think I was saying him last time I was on
you
here.
championed him early on, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'd still go with him. I mean, he's just keeping Denver alive, like on his back right now. It's been crazy, but
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, after that, like especially the run Ja's been on, like I feel like Ja and Tatum are the two that are kind of coming on strong in the back half. And like you said, Alec, I think with both of them, it's kind of dependent on where their seeding goes. Like,
which the Grizzlies are number 2 right now, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, like if they can keep that, and like Ja is the reason that they keep that, he has a decent shot to win it.
Yeah.
And I think the same goes for Tatum. Like if the Celtics somehow sneak up into the 3 and, he keeps his pace, like he had 50, against Brooklyn. I think, Alec, you said he might have had he had 40 something tonight against the Hornets. Like if he keeps playing like that, then I think he could at least be top 3 if they get to that 3.
Yeah. Those types of big performances like that are good for MVP ranking when you're dropping 50 in primetime games and stuff, like when a lot of eyes are on you.
That helps on the rank. So he's creeping up the discussion, but there's still a few guys ahead of him. And I agree. It's still Jokic to me with what he's doing, as Matt said. I think I agree with you before as well in saying that then Embiid and Giannis there fighting it out, trying to get back ahead of him. Say it again.
Oh, I thought you said fight it out.
Yeah, I think Jokic at one still with Embiid and Giannis trying to get ahead of him there. So we shall see. With the other name you guys mentioned was Ja. There's been a lot of talk about him. Ja Morant's one of the most electric players in the league right now. Shaq said on his show on TNT that he's the best player in the world at the moment, which we can disagree on that. He's still climbing, but whatever. But just seeing what he's doing in Memphis with that young Grizzlies squad, there are a lot of folks that now have high hopes for them. There are other folks that are throwing criticism as well, just in that we've seen this style of play, at least in some ways before. We've seen the Ja Morant prototype in regards to Russell Westbrook. We've seen the Ja Morant prototype before with Derrick Rose in his MVP season and things. While we may have seen MVPs and individual success, we haven't seen many rings with guys that play that same way. So you guys think that Ja and his play style and his team being second in the West right now, can this carry over to the playoffs as well? And can that style get them a ring this year, or can that style get a ring in the near future?
In the near future, I do believe so. Yeah, I don't think their play style has anything to do with their lack of success. I think it's been their youth that's been in their inexperience. It's been the lack of success, and I still think they're maybe a year out from being an actual championship contender.
I second in the West right now.
Even at number 2 right now, I don't think they're going to have quite the success that they may feel that they're going to have in the playoffs.
Okay.
They had a really strong run to finish the year last season and got into that 8 seed and got swept, I believe, by the Jazz in round 1.
I think they stole one.
Maybe gentleman's sweep.
I think they stole one. Yeah.
I don't think they get that type of treatment. I think they can win a playoff series, but I don't see them getting to the finals this year. I think they're about a year out from that, and I think their youth and inexperience is going to come into play a little bit in the playoffs. We've seen them kind of puffing their chests a little bit already this season, and I think that's going to rub vets especially the wrong way, and I don't think vets in the playoffs are going to be afraid of that young team. I think while Ja is on an MVP trajectory, veteran stars still get the job done when it comes down to it, in crunch time in the playoffs. So they can give some teams some battles. I think they can win a series, maybe 2, but I don't see them getting to the finals this year.
Got you. I think in regards to your end result, I agree, and I think they're not going to get to the finals, but just in that vets aren't going to back down to them, and that they won't have the same intimidation or wherever the case may be going forward. I think they will still have that. It's interesting because it seemed like there were a lot of folks that loved their fearlessness early on, and how they were willing to go up against anybody, and most notably they had that game against LeBron where they were tripping at Bron and things like that. Folks loved that early on, but now the season has gone forward. It's turned into, okay, now vets are going to start getting fed up, and eventually somebody's going to say enough is enough. So while I don't think that when necessarily be the case, go ahead. You want to input real quick?
Yeah, just to that point. The thing is, I think I'm one of those people that loves it too. Like when they're playing hard, the issue is when you start talking. Like for me, let your play do the talking. I get it. Like you're riding high, you're playing really well, you're a young team, you're confident. But when the confidence starts to border on cocky and you haven't proven anything yet, that's when you start to get the pushback from me. Like you got to win something first before you start talking slick. Especially how you got treated in the playoffs last year. So
I mean,
I get that, but
you proved nothing in the regular season. We've seen the Jazz do this year in and year out.
Oh, don't give him the Jazz tag yet, man.
Don't give him the Jazz tag, and two, for some reason that connects to me. That sounds to me like the same folks that were telling the young kids playing baseball recently in that viral clips that were going around not to flip their bats because they're young and got to learn to play the game the right way. Like, even I know it's not the exact same parallel. I think you should let the young kids play how they want to play, and if they learn their lesson one way or another, let them learn it. But until then, if things work for them, let them go about things as they are. They're having a whole lot of fun out in Memphis playing the game as they are with that fearlessness, both in their play and in their character. And I think until that bet shows up and shuts them down, I think they should go out and continue to have the character that they do. So I don't.
You can do whatever you want, but the humbling is a lot worse when you've talked that cash talk and you don't back it up.
Yeah.
I hear again. I definitely hear that.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. They can play. They can talk as much as they want. You got to back it up.
Okay.
You said the same thing about like the Suns in the Western Conference final. Like I think going into the finals when they were like celebrating real hard, and we were like kind of like act like you've been there before, but at the same time, like it'd been years since they've been to the finals. Same thing, like they went up 2-0 and got blown out 4 straight games.
I get that. I guess what I'm saying is you're adding the butt to it, and I'm leaving it out and just saying I'm enjoying how they're playing so far, and whatever happens after that will happen. But I think until then, let them play as they are. So
one of the better brands of basketball to watch play. But
absolutely.
You still got to get the job.
Whichever angle you want to take. Still, Ja definitely is much watched TV. That whole Grizzly squad definitely a whole lot of fun. I don't know where Jaren Jackson Jr. is in the most improved race right now, but he was the guy that I had odds on early on. I'm glad to see that he's improved his play either way. And just that whole squad is definitely fun to watch there. So definitely a threat. You don't obviously list them as contenders. We went through the East. Who are your contenders in the West right now? And I'm saying that also, as we all know, with the Warriors having their injuries as they continue to have right now too. So, Alec, who first do you have as contenders in the West right now?
For me right now, I'm only confident in the Warriors and the Suns as far as championship contention. I think Draymond's coming back, I believe, this week or maybe next week. He said on one of his podcasts he's targeting coming back very soon. And I think like he fills the hole like that they've been missing. He's a major reason why Steph has been struggling so much. Because Draymond's been out the past 2 months or whatever, and the shots just don't come as easy for Steph without him on the floor. And I think he's the final piece. They may be getting Wiseman as well too soon.
He's gearing up. He's playing some G League games right now, I believe.
Right. And it's crazy like the fall that Steph is at because he was like on the MVP trajectory for the first.
We didn't even mention him just a moment ago.
Probably not even in the top 10 right now, just with the fall off he's had.
Did he pull a Russell Wilson on us?
Man,
we'll get to him later. But
I feel like you can't say that just because Steph has been a unanimous MVP too.
Okay.
Russ still hasn't gotten a vote, right?
No, he hasn't, which is crazy. That's disgusting.
You're right. But we'll see. We'll get to NFL later. But I'm confident in this Warriors team. They still have the nucleus from those 73-9 team and those championship teams. And then Steve Kerr and getting Draymond back, I think, will solidify them. And then the Suns have been the best team in basketball. And even with CP3 being out, leadership, Devin Booker being out with
the point guard.
Yeah, the point guard, yeah. Devin Booker would being out. Cam Payne has stepped up. Mikal Bridges has stepped up. Cam Johnson has stepped up. They've got a very deep roster. James Jones and them have put together a really good team. Bonnie Williams should be in Coach of the Year contention. Might not get it, like I said, just because
I'm not letting y'all get past him again. He's going to be in the discussion one way or another.
He better get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those two teams for sure are solidified as contenders for me. If anyone says the Lakers, like I'm gonna yell at them at this point because the Lakers should.
I'm gonna
not
yell at
ever
you that you didn't
discuss.
say the Grizzlies and you brought up the Lakers. That's what I'm gonna yell at you about.
Well, we just talked about the Grizzlies and I said they weren't for me. That's why I didn't.
That's what I mean. You're saying the Lakers before the Grizzlies. Like, come on.
No, I'm saying if anyone says them, I'm gonna yell at them.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna yell at them.
yeah.
They shouldn't
My
even
bad.
be discussed anymore as contenders.
Okay, good.
But they probably will be just because LeBron and AD are there.
I mean, yeah. As I was looking through the standings, like, you know, I don't agree with what Josiah said on your last episode, but like, I also don't hate the take. Like, if there's ever going to be a year you have like a play-in team or an 8 seed come out of the West, like, I could see it being with, you know, LeBron and AD, you know, making the most of a shitty year. You know, I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but you know,
I don't see it. I don't see it. They've got to show me something in the play-in and in a playoff series at least.
Exactly.
I have some faith in them. But as far as the other West teams, the Mavericks, I think they're still a year or two away, maybe a piece away too. Even though the trade they made actually seems to be working pretty well with Dinwiddie.
They're playing pretty good. They've won the last 5 straight. If I'm looking at things correct.
It turns into a lot of hero ball in the playoffs for the Mavericks with Luka, and I think it will again. They've been better than expected, I think, for us with Jay Kidd as the head coach. I don't think we had a whole lot of promise for them, but they've been pretty good.
All jokes.
Yeah. The Clippers are interesting if they get one or both of PG and Kawhi back because they're very well coached and play hard every single night. So the Clippers – I'll throw the Clippers as a fringe if they get those guys in back, but that's not a guarantee. So for me right now, the Warriors.
The Nuggets are getting MPJ and Jamal back, I believe. Though they both are gearing up. Does that move you?
Yeah, it doesn't move me a whole lot. It definitely makes them better. Jokic, right, like Matt said, I think is probably the MVP right now. Just with the run he's been on as of late. It makes them more dangerous. Defensively, I think you're still going to be able to put up on the Nuggets. So
all right, I think there are a few frauds in the West, and if our Lakers had could build any kind of momentum, that things were possible. But the reality is they aren't doing that right now. Yeah. So looking at the other real possibilities, it's just a lot of ifs. If Chris Paul gets healthy, if the Grizzlies don't get punked by some bets along the way.
I like them a lot.
Yeah, I like them too. And
I didn't get a chance to talk about that.
I'll let you go ahead then, Matt. What do you think about the Grizzlies there?
Yeah, because I mean, you know, like everything you were saying, Alec, just about
real quick, they just got beat by the Rockets too before us.
Hey, I don't know. Can the Rockets sneak in the play-in? They're only they're 10 games out of the play-in. How many we got left? But no, it's a fair point. But you know, in terms of like to your point of all the shit that they're talking is going to make the humbling hurt a lot more. Like that's fair, but at the same time, I also kind of see it as the kind of thing where like you're trying to psych yourself up. You know, like. You know, I remember, I think it was like early on in the year. I want to say it was like Dylan Brooks was talking a lot of shit to LeBron. Like, I respect that. Like, you know, like you're a kid who probably, you know, watched him your entire life. So now you're like face to face with him. You're probably scared as shit on the inside. So he's outside to like.
I don't know, man. Like that's been his brand since Oregon, since we've been watching him.
That's true. Yeah. No, that's a good point with Brooks. But I think that like identity, like with Brooks and Ja, and then even like hard nosed players like like Jaren Jackson Jr. and then like even DeAnthony Melton. I love a lot off their bench. You know, like they play hard. So I feel like the kind of shit talking, like, you know, it's kind of a little bit back to that grit and grind identity that they had. You know, they got guys like Steven Adams now who can just, you know, take up space, you know, get a bunch of rebounds. So like, I like them. And I think that they're legit. They're like kind of contenders, you know, like I would put them right there behind Phoenix and Golden State, honestly. And like,
they got Denver as a 2 squad. And I was going to say, I tried to give this label to the Cavs earlier on in the year as a projection. But we saw a confident young squad make a run in the NFL this year in the Bengals. And though they didn't win the whole thing, just seeing that confidence when you can go against anybody and believe you can get it done. And they did that. And obviously basketball, as you mentioned, Alec, as your retort, was that basketball a different game with the series there. But just the idea of a team can be confident and go up against the better squads and stand up to them and actually find a way to get it done. I think this Grizzlies squad is a team that, yes, there may be vets that got to come along in the playoffs to step their game up, but I think the Grizzlies will be up for that challenge as well. And if the vets step up and do their thing, then so be it. But until then, I believe that confidence can carry this Grizzlies squad a long way, and they are contenders in my eyes. So, yeah, man, I'm definitely with you in that. So, yeah, we'll see what they can make of it. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Go ahead, Alec.
One more thing on the Grizzlies. I would say they are right behind. Like, they're not contenders to me, but they are right behind the Suns and Warriors. But the thing for them in series 2 is after Ja, like, they're not going to have the next best player in the series, like, for a couple, like, going against most of those teams. So, like, while they are very talented, I think they're on a great trajectory. I think they're just a little bit away, like, just a year off from, like, making the finals. Just because in some of these series, like, the top-end talent is going to be a little bit better than the top-end talent that they have.
Yeah, and like I agree with that projection. I just think that like the window is kind of open this year.
Yeah,
you know, like
it is for like, sure, especially in the West.
Yeah. So like especially seeing that, I you know, because I almost, you know, like thinking back to some of the recent Celtics runs, like my favorite team was the year that like Kyrie Irving was injured, Gordon Hayward was injured, and it was just the young guys like Terry Rozier, Tatum, Brown, just making that push, getting to the finals. They, you know, I don't think they were really like talking shit, but you know, just that like kind of
they were definitely confident though.
Yeah, like fearless, almost from like a place of ignorance, just because you haven't before, you like don't really know the stakes. Like I've heard Tatum talk since then. He was like, you know, the 19-year-old me, or you know, however old he was in that series, didn't know how hard it was to get back there. So like kind of like that bravado that can bring with you. Like
that was when you tried to dunk on Braun, right? That was that series, right?
Yes.
When he did dunk on Braun.
Yes.
Oh,
dunk on Braun.
Okay, got you.
He dunked on him and bumped him, and then Braun learned them a lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
That he did. But you know, we got that poster at least.
So yeah, we shall see. But I get something that it's going to segue into another question I have for you guys is about the whole league. Alec, you talked about how there's going to be a gap between the next best player on the Grizzlies and whoever is on the opposing squad. While that may be the case, as we pointed out, who the guys the Grizzlies still have are no scrubs. There are a lot of talent on there. So it's another conversation I wanted to have with you. We talked about all the MVP race, and we talked about guys like Ja who've elevated into maybe superstar range. We can discuss that as well. But I just wanted to ask you, I guess, to that point, while it feels like the average level of play across the league definitely has increased. We see a lot of really, really good role players across the board. So with that being the case, what now makes a superstar a superstar? We see a lot of guys that do things very well. What makes these guys at the top stand out from the rest who have increased their play as well?
It's hard to put like set criteria on it, because like you can be a superstar like in different ways. Like it's not just averaging 30. Like you could be a 12 assist guy that averages 20 or whatever, that kind of thing. But I'd probably say like right now for me, the guys that are superstars right now are in MVP contention. So like those like top 7 or 8 guys right now, I think are like the real superstars, like your Giannis, Embiid, Jokic, DeRozan, Ja, Tatum. I think like it's a pretty short list. I think superstar gets thrown around like pretty loosely, but it's really like maybe 10, 12 guys in the league. Yeah.
Okay.
So
there's a lot of stars, but superstar is different.
Okay, so do you not consider like KD was the first name on there that I
KD obviously is a superstar as well too. Yeah, I think it's just he's been hurt.
Stop it.
LeBron?
Yes, LeBron.
You didn't mention LeBron.
LeBron too. LeBron's superstar too. Yeah.
All right.
But there are a few things in there.
Their contention for MVP.
Right. Yeah. He's not in the running.
Yeah.
So like, I guess even looking at the Celtics, what makes Jason Tatum a superstar over a guy like Jaylen Brown when for at least a small portion of the season, or at least the midpoint of the season, folks were saying that Jaylen Brown was getting slept on and may have been the best player on that squad. Again, that's from afar, but just looking. Folks were saying Jaylen Brown may have been better than Jason, but whenever anybody says superstar for the Celtics, they immediately go to Jason. So what's the difference there?
That's a good point. I think one element I could probably add to it is that like they have the capability to go nuclear on any given night too. So like Tatum can give you that 50-point game. Jaylen once in a blue moon. I think
Jaylen had a few of those himself.
What?
He can't string them together like Tatum, but he can give you a couple.
Yeah. So like
it's the explosion plus the longevity of the to be able to carry it over multiple games. Okay, I get what you guys are saying.
Yeah, like even just Jaylen can give you like 40 every like 15 games or something like that. It gives you a 40 ball or something like that. But Tatum, I think, is like more of a threat to do that on a night-to-night basis. It's not going to do that every night, but
it's like even thinking about those two specifically, like I think a lot of it kind of goes into like how your numbers called in the offense too. Like obviously plays are run for Jaylen Brown, and like he's averaging well over 20 a game this year. But like it's if Tatum's working and like his shots falling in the first, second quarter, like he's gonna have that opportunity to get his 50. And like I don't necessarily, like if it's a night where
of lights.
Exactly. But like say like it's a night where both of them start out hot, like they're probably just going to defer to Tatum. And then like Tatum's probably going to get those looks down the stretch too. And like I think Jaylen Brown's like more than capable of handling that. But like I think just the way this team is set up, and like Tatum's kind of the face, he's kind of the leader. Like I just think he gets his number. He's like the 1A to Jaylen's 1B. Like I think just how the offense is structured.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Steph is in there too still. Like
of course
Steph could explode like that
for
too.
Sure.
Yeah. So
okay. So yeah, I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on that because I've seen a lot of folks that have thrown that superstar name around pretty quickly now with a lot of these rising stars. But I also just noticed that a lot of the league just has increased their play in general. So just figuring out what that difference is and giving guys the proper label that they deserve right now. Just wanted your take on it. So I think that's it for the NBA. I mean, we've got an hour already, so that should be enough. But any other NBA notes you guys have real quick?
Real quick, Zion may be potentially coming back soon. That was news.
That makes the Pelicans scary.
It does.
It does, but it just happens at the same time as Brandon Ingram going down for a week. So
I forgot about that.
If that continues to linger, then it just kind of cancels out. So we'll see.
They got to get him back for sure, but maybe David Griffin is beating the allegations.
You said for 90% of the season that he's been tricking everybody. But Cesar Cole got there and was a major move. And what they were doing with him and BI has been great. And now with Zion coming back, they could be a team that surprises some folks if they can get
bounce the Lakers from the play-in. Who knows?
You're right. just all they need one game.
Went down to New Orleans and learned some voodoo. Put the tricks to work.
And ironically, you say that, but Zion was in Portland for a long while. Doing his rehab. I'm not exactly sure how that worked out. Is that like a Nike thing? Maybe. Where's Nike headquarters at? I don't know.
Nike's in Oregon.
Yeah, so maybe that's it. I don't know, but he was out there for a little while and doing his things there. And they say he's going to be back shortly, and he'll get at least maybe five games to end the season, and then the play in and from there. So that should be very interesting. And we shall see how that works out.
Another guy that can be a superstar, not quite there yet, but
got some games to play still. He's still very early. We shall see. Oh, I guess last to that point, Matt, you talked about how you loved for Zion to be the first guy to bounce after his rookie contract. With how the Pelicans are at least somewhat turning things around with CJ there. Do you still stand on that statement, or do you think he should continue to ride things out in New Orleans?
I mean, it'd be interesting, especially since the Knicks got Cam Reddish since I said that. So, they just they're one piece away from the Duke reunion. So you never know. But I mean, at the same time, like New Orleans they're clearly building something there. Like Herb Jones is a great rookie.
I think this CJ
trade was clearly what they needed. you know, he kind of, I don't know if he righted the ship for Zion to come back, or if, you know, it was just kind of coincidence timing with the rehab and all that, but they're looking good. So, you know, at this rate, I don't know if he's going to walk anymore.
Got you. So, hey, it's what it is. They found a way to save that situation, and hopefully it continues to work out for them. And I'm excited to see how things continue to go for them and everybody going forward. So, definitely going to be an exciting end to the NBA season. And I asked you guys about last points, something that just came to mind. The last thing, just wanted to give a shout out. One of my favorite players still, DeMarcus Cousins, Boogie Cousins, had a 30 ball the other day while playing for the Nuggets. He's been bouncing around the league for a while, but in and out of the league for a while after his great run with the Kings and others. And because of injuries, didn't quite have the continued success that we would have hoped he would have. But he's still finding his way in the league, getting opportunities. Did not allow the injuries that he had consecutively. I will add those injuries that he had to just allow his career to end. He's bounced back and has. I wouldn't say fully revived it, but he's making the most of the opportunities that he does get, and had a great performance the other day for the Nuggets, dropping a 30 ball, his first since 2018. So salute to him. And being there in Denver, he's reunited with Mike Malone, who he played for and had great success for in Sacramento.
Great success.
Whatever. I would say
personally.
Great individual success while playing for while they were together in Sacramento.
Gotcha.
And just having a coach that believes in you definitely goes a long way. So just seeing that they've reunited and he's continuing to succeed with his coach now in a new situation is great to see. And I brought that up lastly to say I would have loved for Russ to have that in LA. Circling back to how things would have started. There was a report that came out that said La GM, as we say, one of his nicknames that he may not whine about publicly, but we have continued to throw his way. LeBron James and others tried to go and get Scott Brooks, who Russ had played for as well, and would have been a nice fit. But got outbid by, I think it was Portland again. I guess circling everything that's together and how it all is all connected. Scott Brooks went to Portland instead. So Russ was not able to reunite with him, and things have gone as they would have. But I think having a coach that would have advocated for him in the locker room, while there may be others that are doing so, having one that would have knew him prior to the situation, having his back for sure.
Just how to utilize him offensively.
Right. Would have gone a long way. So, I wish he would have had that. And, it's just great to see for Boogie. And I wish that others would get that same kind of connection with coaches as well.
It's all situational.
Absolutely. I guess throwing in at the very end and to for Matt, I saw Isaiah Thomas had a quote recently where he said he's tried reaching out to Brad Stevens multiple times and was willing to do whatever it takes
to boy ain't
get
picking
back
up
there, but instead they go and sign guys like Nick Stauskas to 2-year deals. And Nick Stauskas, while he is nice too, he had his own success in the G League recently. Whenever Isaiah Thomas drops down to the G League, he drops 50 points. And everybody's like, why is he even down to begin with? And it's like he definitely has a lot of great game left in him. But for some reason, Boston is not wanting him back. As a fan there, do you want him back? And then why haven't they had that reunion yet?
Castillo.
One of the weirdest nicknames in the league. But I would love him back, to answer your question, G. I think, I don't know, Stauskas was out of the league for a minute. He was never a good defender. So other than the size difference, I don't really know what the difference between the two of those guys is. It's shooting, IT can probably create a lot more off the dribble. Even with the white factor for Stauskas, IT might sell more jerseys. It's, city of Boston.
And I thought y'all wanted that reunion, so I'm not sure what the disconnect is, but
I'd love it. There's still, I know he seemed to have a great relationship with Tatum and Brown, and
Brad Stevens ain't answering his phone calls, man.
I guess not. He should have his direct line, unless Brad changed his number. But it just hasn't happened for whatever reason. Yeah, and the Celtics aren't even playing Stauskas, so he might fit the roster a bit better in terms of injury replacements if someone goes down. But for end of the bench guy, IT is perfect fit. I'd buy 3 jerseys
the Jared Dudley role.
That. Exactly. No, the exact Jared Dudley role. He doesn't have to play a minute. He can just high five people Like
high
that's all he has
five
to do.
and sell jerseys. That's all we need you to do.
Make the pregame speeches. Tell him about the slow grind.
There
it's
you
fine.
go.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it would have been perfect, but for whatever reason, we went with Sauce Castillo.
Yeah, instead of bringing them back, they made the most of them and let them go and left them alone. And yeah, that's how you milk a camel dry.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a bet with a friend. They wanted me to throw that quote in there in the episode some kind of way. And yeah, I
right at the buzzer. Right at the buzzer.
I found it. I figured it out at the end, but I couldn't hide it. So
cash in
there
that
we
bet.
go. Hey,
Cash
up, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, but now moving on. That's a whole lot of NBA talk that we just did. But now there's a lot of great basketball going on beyond that as well, especially in college basketball. College basketball March Madness is here, and
it's
good
March,
things are going on there. Very excited. Matt, I think we are yes. Are you locked in for our tournament challenge that we're going to have?
Absolutely.
Gotta be.
Yeah, going to have that created shortly, and we'll have links and all that available to you guys to join and be a part of it as we have that. We'll figure out some kind of prize or whatever for those that join us to get involved and have a good time there. So excited for March Madness coming up. And we mentioned with Jake when he was on a few weeks ago about contenders. And we talked about UCLA and I mentioned USC a little bit just as a homer guy, whatever. And we mentioned a few other teams. I mentioned a team Auburn. Like Auburn and Purdue. And we saw all these teams, and we forgot to mention our own team. Arizona looks great right now. What are we doing? What are we doing? Arizona is great. What do you guys think about Arizona's chances to make a run in this March Madness this year?
Yeah, I definitely didn't forget about them because them and UCLA are the only two teams I'm really watching. So
of course, understood.
The only teams I can really honestly comment on because the other teams.
We are casuals. It's okay to be casual.
absolutely casuals for college.
You don't have the 6-screen setup for college, no?
No, I don't have the Jared Karavis for college basketball. I think Arizona for sure. Is looking like a contender to win a title this year. The Pac-12 is just like a gauntlet.
Stacked.
Yeah, so it's tough coming from that conference because they tend to beat up on each other. But Arizona made it out and I believe is a top 3 seed, maybe 2 now.
They're 2. There should be 1. I think Gonzaga's had a loss or 2 more than we have, but they're still ahead. Maybe that's a Chet Holmgren factor there that's getting a little love, but. Yeah, they're 1 still, and we're 2, but we definitely should get a 1 seed in the tourney, and we could have a good run from there.
Right, but we got the Pac-12 tournament coming up, I believe, this weekend. So that's a chance for them to solidify that they're the best team in the Pac-12 right now because it's between them and UCLA, obviously. USC is right there too, but yeah, I think we are real threats. We being Arizona, but I still really like UCLA's chances. In the tourney, but what do you think, Matt? From you?
Yeah, I mean, I was telling G before the episode, like I really like Arizona's chances. Like, as Arizona fans, like we've been bamboozled by the tournament a couple times. Like
Sean Miller, sort of lot,
exactly. So we'll see what Tommy Lloyd can break that streak. But like I think despite if they lose early in the Pac-12 tournament, this won't be the case. But if they're a 1 seed, like. I feel like they could be a sneaky 1 seed because I feel like a lot of people kind of write them off because they've had a lot of early exits.
They didn't have a whole lot of expectations going into the year. It seemed
exactly, but like I think that's what I love about the team. Like Benedict Mathurin is like the clear number 1 option on the team. And, like he's incredible. Like anytime I catch an Arizona game, I'm blown away. Not even just by his like scoring, his passing is insane, man. Like,
is he lottery level?
I think he should be.
Yeah,
I've seen him there. I think he's going to be legit in the NBA because he has size, he has handle, and he can distribute. Like, I don't know. But
he looks NBA ready. So
exactly. And then like beyond him, they got Coulda patrolling the paint. I still don't really know how to say his name, but Kirk Kriisa.
Kirk Kriisa,
he's so much fun to watch. I mean, he's very hot and cold, but when he's on, he's drilling threes all game. So I think they're really fun. And I've seen some things like people are kind of comparing them to that Miles Simon like Arizona championship team. I think it was 25 years ago too. So like there might be a little Yeah, it might be a little bit of that magic in the air, you know, like, and I mean, I think they're the best Arizona team that, you know, I've seen, you know, Alec. I think we all started going there actually in like 2015, and like they're the best team I've seen in that span.
We came up short, but I still love that Trier Ayton squad that we had.
Man. Yeah, I was gonna say I think this team, Matt might be right that they're the best team as a collective. We've had more talented ones for sure.
For sure.
Okay. Like with Aiden, Trier, Raleigh, all on the team.
No, that team was stacked.
Yeah. And somehow
Buffalo was too much.
Buffalo got us out of there quick, but
man.
I think they were probably more talented individually. But as a collective, I might agree with you that this is the best Arizona team since we started going there, since 2015 or whatever.
So I think they're so deep too. Like, you know, they had like the 6th man of the year, and like there were 2 other bench players who I was like, I'm forgetting who won the Pac-12 6th man of the year, and I'm like, wait, you know, like there are like a couple other bench players I was thinking of that like I might have placed over him just off the games I've watched. So like I think they got like a real solid like 7 or 8 man rotation, which is what you need for March. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely there. So they're top of my list of teams that I believe can get there. Any other names you want to note real quick in there as contenders or that you have eyes on? I think you mentioned UCLA. Matt, you have anybody else or either one?
Baylor's been looking pretty nice, but you know I caught them a couple times. They look scary. Yeah, I mean that would be kind of crazy, but you know especially after Davion Mitchell left. But you know.
If they still that physicality though, anything's possible.
Exactly. And like, you know, I'm sure they got some guys, you know, who won it last year, so they've been there before.
I'm too much of a casual to comment much on other teams.
I
will say like, we're gonna move to Duke, right? I know.
I was gonna say a team that folks may have had circle what was Duke because of the talent that they have there. They've had some woes recently, most notably the last home game of Coach K's career, losing to UMC in embarrassing fashion. What did you think of that game?
Didn't watch it actually. I think I was coming home that day, like from Tucson, but I kind of followed the score. And like you had on here, it was kind of surprising for me, like how many people were celebrating their downfall in that game.
Yeah, they came out in droves. I was like, "What is that?"
I'm one of them.
I know.
I know
Matt's been a Duke hater since he was a kid. Duke's been one of those teams that's been like, I wouldn't say overhated, because I don't really care one way or the other, but they've been hated for many, many years, like with Coach K as head coach.
They definitely don't help themselves. I'll say that.
Like non-Duke fans like hate Duke, and I remember those JJ Redick years where he was like, like public enemy number 1 just for being a Duke player and being like a good shooter. So
how dare he?
Yeah, like Duke gets a lot of hate. So, but I was a little bit surprised just with it like being a momentous night for him, like how much people were like praying on their downfall.
It was bad.
I didn't like I turned on the game once I realized what was happening, but like I didn't even. It kind of confused me that there was that much fanfare around it anyway. Like people spending $80K just to watch this game.
Yeah, like Super Bowl numbers for the
yeah.
Adam Silver was in the building,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
Because like Duke's a good team. Like they're probably going to be like a at least a top 4 seed depending on how the ACC shakes out. Like it's not his last game, guys. Like that, right? Like if you're spending $80K for a shitty seat in Cameron Indoor, you can fly to wherever they're playing in the first round, or like the Final Four if you think they're going there. Like, apparently you got that money, so. Like, like that I didn't really get. But as soon as I realized what was going on and I realized UNC was winning, I was like, I need to see this. Like, please. Like, if nothing else, I think what's so funny about it, I think I heard Bomani Jones talk about this on his podcast, but just like there's something about Duke, like think about like all of the infamous like crying fan gifts, like especially with college. Like I feel like a good half of them are Duke fans, like in Cameron Indoor.
There's a lot of hubris that comes with like for some reason.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to like. I wouldn't necessarily I mean, I did enjoy it, but like, it's
so even though you enjoy it, do you still have any kind of respect for Coach K still? Like you revere Coach K at all and see what he did?
Like you can't not.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, like beyond just Duke basketball, like USA basketball as well too, and like all those NBA superstars like respect him.
Yeah,
everyone who's
not all of them.
Yeah,
maybe not every single one of them. Most of them.
Ojale might have something to say about that. It made his mom cry.
Most of his Duke guys, I think, respect him. I think it's undoubted that he's a great coach. So yeah, I mean, you got to respect like what he was able to build there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it is what it is. Like, I feel like it was like treated like even like Kobe's like retirement tour.
Yeah, they felt like it was like his last game, like ever kind of thing. It's like he still got games to play, as Matt said. So yeah, it was a little overblown, but still, definitely an interesting moment to see all play out. But just to the point of reverence to him, he definitely is heralded as one of the greatest college coaches ever. Just on the topic of coaching, great coaches in general, I want to ask you guys of the four GOATs, if you could play for one, who would you pick between Coach K, Phil Jackson, Bill Belichick, and Nick Saban? I know the different sports there, but still, you're guaranteed a ring for all four of them. If that's a caveat you want to throw in there, whatever. But if you just pick one to play for, who would you pick?
I got an answer. I mean, of course I'm supposed to go with Bill Belichick for this, but I'm gonna go with Phil Jackson. Like when I'm thinking of those three coaches, like Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, Coach K. Mm-hmm. None of them seem fun at all.
Yeah, all three are assholes.
Like let me go do ayahuasca with Phil Jackson in Wyoming. Like, like that. He'd be. I want to hear his weird pregame speeches and all that. Like he just seems he's the most like eccentric dude of that. And
the Zen master.
Exactly. Could learn a couple things. Learn how to center myself. Let me get my chakras in order. Teach me, Phil, please. Yeah. Like
he's probably got the good kush too.
Absolutely. Yes.
Actually got well connected on that side as well.
Yeah, no, I think Matt stole my answer there. I think because I was going to say Belichick would probably be hell to play for.
It makes everyone run up hills.
Yeah,
that's still a thing in New England.
Saban probably close to it, not quite as insane as Belichick, but close to on par. Coach K would probably be second, I guess, for me. But still in that insane level. So I think it would probably have to be Phil Jackson just because of how his like disposition is. And like when the Lakers would struggle too, he would like let them play through it as well. Yeah. He wouldn't be like the quick hook guy. So I feel like he'd give a little bit more leeway.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Bill Belichick, you have one fumble and he will cut you instantly.
Your career is over.
Yeah. Or like Malcolm Butler, I just want him to put you on the field.
Right. Oh man, why'd you have to bring that up? I'm gonna get mad.
Yeah. Some more open wounds there. Definitely tough. So,
I almost forgot about that. It's like when he benched Wes Welker for making Rex Ryan feet jokes.
Unreal stuff.
While I do agree with you, just to give a little bit of praise, I guess I definitely do agree that Phil Jackson's top of the list of those four to play for. But I will say, as Matt, you weren't a big Duke fan. I was never really a big Alabama fan. But looking at it in this context, I think Nick Saban might be second on that list to me. I do like what he has done with the multiple programs that he's been a part of and made champions, and how he definitely respects his players and rides for them and makes sure they protected and all of that.
So I think LSU as well too, right?
Yeah, he was over there as well. So I think Phil Jackson definitely is one, but if there's another guy, if there's a second in line, ranking them, I put Saban second for guys I'd like to play for there. So definitely a fun thing. I wanted to throw you guys and see what you think.
That's a good pick, G, because like with Saban too, with like the college game, and like this goes to Coach K as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have so much more control over like the narratives around your team, because like Nick Saban, like Alabama players don't have like free media appearances and all that. Like we don't see them that often.
Right.
Like I remember, I think it was before this last season, it was like one of his players was doing a media day and he let it slip that Nick Saban loves D's nuts jokes. Like he just makes them all the time. And like I would never never anticipate that.
Right.
But like Nick Saban's just making a bunch of D's nuts jokes. So like, I like that answer, G.
Definitely fun there. So just want to throw that out there last. Definitely a fun topic that I wanted to hear you guys on. And we'll go from there. So that's it for all of our NBA and NBA adjacent type stuff, college basketball as well. Definitely a whole lot of fun conversation going on there, with plenty of more that we'll get to in future episodes and things. But for now, that is all. And that's part 1 of our latest episode. We'll be back for part 2. Actually, we're gonna break it up into 2 parts for you guys. Part 2 will be all the NFL things and some miscellaneous stuff to throw in there at the end as well. Definitely some fun stuff to get to. And we appreciate
real
you tuning
cinema.
in. Oh yeah, real cinema. We'll talk about in a second. We'll get to that later on. But thank you guys for tuning in to part 1. We'll see you for part 2 shortly. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Follow us on IG and TikTok at section.300. Follow us on Twitter at section30 sports. Follow me at just say G. Follow Alec at LakesChan24. Matt, you find him at Marcus Smarts online as well. A lot of great stuff going on social media. Subscribe to the show where you're listening and watching on YouTube. And we'll see you guys again very shortly. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Peace.
Deuces.